welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. My name is Derek, and I'm a 35-year-old financial analyst living in the bustling heart of Atlanta. I've been married to Mealy, a woman born into wealth and luxury, for about a decade. Mealy has always had a taste for the extravagant. Nothing is ever too lavish or too opulent for her. But as I've come to realize, her appetite for luxury doesn't just apply to material things. Today was Mealy's birthday, and in keeping with tradition, I had hunted down an exceptionally pricey gift, a vintage watch she'd admired for months. I planned to surprise her by coming home early, gift in hand, hoping to catch that sparkle of genuine delight in her eyes. The city traffic was merciful for once, and I made it home with time to spare, the watch nestled securely in my coat pocket. As I parked the car and walked up to our modern two-story house, I noticed that the living room curtains were drawn tight, unusual for this time of day. Muffled laughter and music seeped through the walls, a slow, sinking feeling started to creep into my stomach. I fished out my keys, the metal cold and unwelcome in my hands, and pushed the door open. The scene before me froze me in my tracks. There, in the middle of our living room, was Mealy, almost naked except for some scanty lingerie that left little to the imagination. With her was a man, dressed, or rather undressed, as Superman, his outfit more revealing than anything Clark Kent would ever consider. They were laughing, dancing too close, the air thick with betrayal. "Derek!" Mealy gasped, her voice a cocktail of surprise and guilt. The music screeched to a halt as the man awkwardly stepped back, adjusting his cape like it would cover up the scene. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. My heart hammered against my chest, each beat a deafening echo of betrayal. "What is this, Mealy?" My voice finally broke through the silence, colder and more distant than I felt. "It's not what it looks like, Derek." Mealy stammered, scrambling to wrap a nearby throw around her. "It's just a silly surprise, a joke, for my birthday." "A joke?" I echoed, the word bitter, hollow. "You thought bringing a stripper into our home would be funny." The man, still in his absurd outfit, raised his hands defensively. "Look, man, I was just hired for a gig. No hard feelings, right? No hard feelings." As if the sanctity of our marriage could be shrugged off like a bad joke. I looked at Mealy, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and defiance. This was a line crossed, a boundary shattered. I knew what I had to do. The surprise I had intended was no longer fitting. A new plan began to form, one where Mealy would understand the gravity of her actions. "You'll have your fun, Mealy," I said quietly, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside. "But remember, every action has its consequences." Turning on my heel, I left them there, the sound of my departing steps marking the beginning of my calculated revenge. The game had just begun, and I was determined to deliver an unforgettable finale. The evening air felt unusually crisp as I stepped out into the darkness, my mind racing faster than my feet could carry me. I needed space, air, anything to clear the chaotic whirlwind of betrayal and plotting that consumed me. As I wandered aimlessly through the neon-lit streets of our neighborhood, my phone buzzed relentlessly in my pocket. Ignoring it at first, I finally relented, pulling it out to see several missed calls from Mealy and a text from my best friend, Jake. "Hey man, saw you left the party early. Everything okay?" Jake's message read. Jake had always been my confidant, a brother in arms from our college days. Without a second thought, I dialed his number, needing a friendly voice to ground me. "Derek? What's up?" Jake answered, his tone immediately shifting to concern. "It's Mealy," I started, the words heavy on my tongue. "I caught her with a stripper at our home. On her birthday, Jake." There was a pause, a moment of silence that spoke volumes. "That's rough, man. Want to meet up?" "My treat, let's talk this through." Grateful for the offer, I agreed to meet him at our usual spot, a quiet dive bar tucked away from the usual hustle of the city. The place was dimly lit and perfect for discreet conversations. As I entered, I spotted Jake at the bar, a couple of beers already waiting. We settled into the corner booth, the familiar worn leather a small comfort. "So, what's the plan?" Jake asked after I recounted the evening's events. His expression was serious, the joviality gone. "I'm thinking of a way to make her realize the gravity of what she's done. I need it to be something unforgettable." My voice was calm, but the storm inside was brewing. Jake nodded, his strategic mind kicking in. "You want something that hits where it hurts without crossing lines, right? What about exposing the affair to her social circle? Her reputation is everything to her." The idea sparked interest, but I needed more. As we brainstormed, another figure approached our table. It was Claire, a mutual friend and a sharp-witted lawyer who had overheard part of our conversation. "Derek, if you're really going through with this, you'll need more than just a plan. You'll need evidence and perhaps a way to make it all legal but biting," Claire suggested, her analytical mind already outlining possible scenarios. "Thanks, Claire. I was thinking along those lines. Maybe gathering some evidence first, perhaps catching them again," I proposed, feeling the plan taking shape with every word. Claire nodded, pulling out her phone. "I might know someone who can help with that. A private investigator I've used in some cases. Discreet and thorough." The next hour was spent in hushed tones, plotting each step with meticulous care. Jake suggested a reveal at Mealy's upcoming gala, a high-profile event where the impact would be most significant. Claire arranged for the investigator to start the following day, promising to handle the legal nuances. As the night deepened, the three of us formed a pact of secrecy and strategy. With each sip of our drinks, my resolve hardened. Mealy's betrayal would not go unanswered, and with Jake and Claire at my side, I felt ready to face whatever came next. Stepping out of the bar into the cool night, the pieces of my revenge were set. The game was indeed on, and I was no longer playing it alone. As the sun peeked over the Atlanta skyline, I was already in motion. Armed with a strong coffee and a clearer head, I headed to my office, but my focus was anything but on financial reports. Instead, I replayed the strategy session with Jake and Claire over in my mind, each step meticulously planned. I was deep in thought when my phone vibrated with an update from the private investigator, Ron, who Claire had recommended. His message was brief: "Surveillance in place. We'll update ASAP." Knowing Ron was on the job added a layer of anticipation to my day. Mid-morning, a meeting dragged on, but a subtle buzz from my phone snapped me back to the present. It was Ron again, this time with a photo attachment. The image displayed Mealy entering a boutique hotel downtown, not the kind of place you visit for a casual meeting. The timestamp was damning enough. My jaw clenched as I pocketed the phone, the pieces falling into place, fueling my resolve. Lunchtime approached, and I decided to take a walk, needing some air to clear my head. As I passed through the bustling streets, filled with the usual crowd of tourists and locals, my phone rang. It was Jake. "Hey, got a minute?" Jake's voice sounded tense. "Sure, what's up?" I replied, stepping into the quiet of a nearby park. "I think we should speed things up. Claire heard through her contacts that Mealy is planning something big, potentially a move that could complicate things for you legally. We might need to act sooner than the gala." I stopped in my tracks, a chill running down my spine. "So, what do you suggest?" "Let's meet tonight. Claire will be there too. She's pulling some strings to get more intel." "All right, see you at your place," I confirmed, my mind racing with possibilities and pitfalls. Evening fell, and the meeting took place in Jake's living room, a trio of conspirators huddled over a laptop. Claire had managed to secure more surveillance footage from Ron, This time it was Mealy meeting with a man, not the stripper from her birthday, but someone who looked influential, his demeanor smug and confident. This guy, Claire pointed at the screen, is a known player in the social circles Mealy craves. If he's part of this, it's not just a fling. We need to expose both of them, make it stick. The discussion turned to execution. We decided to compile the evidence and create a presentation that could not be ignored. Jake, ever the tech-savvy one, outlined how we could use digital media to our advantage. Let's make sure that when the reveal happens, there's no room for doubt, Jake said, setting up encrypted files and secure backups. We'll need to be careful about how we present this. Any misstep could backfire legally, Claire added, always mindful of the consequences. As the plan solidified, I felt a mixture of dread and determination. This was no longer just about a personal vendetta, it was about exposing deceit at a level that went beyond my worst fears. Leaving Jake's place, the city seemed different, as if every shadow held a secret. I knew that what we were setting in motion could not be undone. With every step I took, the weight of the upcoming confrontation grew heavier. Tomorrow, I would confront Mealy, armed not just with proof but with righteous indignation. The storm was ready to break, and I was at its center, the orchestrator of the impending tempest. The evening of Mealy's gala arrived with a tempestuous sky, as if the heavens themselves sensed the drama about to unfold. The grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton was aglow with glittering lights and the chatter of Atlanta's elite. Mealy, radiant in a flowing red gown, was the star of the show, basking in the adoration of her guests. I watched from a darkened corner, my heart pounding not with nerves but with a cold, calculated calm. Jake and Claire were already mingling in the crowd, their roles clear. As planned, at exactly 8 o'clock, I stepped forward, a small remote clutched in my hand. The room's attention shifted towards me as I ascended the small stage at the front, the projector humming to life behind me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this special occasion, I began, my voice steady, betraying no hint of the storm to come. Mealy looked at me, a puzzled smile on her lips, clearly unaware of my intentions. I've prepared a special presentation to celebrate not just my wife's birthday, but also her true nature, one that some of you might find quite revealing. The room fell silent, the air thick with anticipation. I clicked the remote, and the screen lit up with the first of the images Ron had captured. There was an audible gasp as Mealy was shown not in compromising positions with the stripper, but rather in secretive meetings with the influential man from the surveillance photos. Mealy, would you care to explain? I called out, turning to face her. The color drained from her face as she stared in disbelief at the images flashing before her friends and family. This is absurd, Derek. What are you doing? She managed, her voice a mix of anger and embarrassment. Showing the truth, I replied calmly. It's not just a fling, is it, Mealy? This man, ladies and gentlemen, is a well-known real estate mogul, and from what we've gathered, my wife has been planning to invest a large portion of her inheritance in his new, very risky venture without her family's knowledge. The murmurs grew louder, the crowd's reaction a mix of shock and fascination. Mealy tried to speak, to salvage the situation, but the evidence was too damning. Yet, as she stood there, struggling for words, I felt a strange twinge of pity mixed with my vindication. But that's not all, I continued, ready to deliver the final blow. Suddenly, the side door burst open. It was Ron, out of breath. Derek, wait, he exclaimed, rushing up to the stage. I frowned, confused by his interruption. There's something you need to know, Ron said, handing me a folder. Your wife wasn't just planning to invest in real estate. I opened the folder, my eyes scanning the documents inside. To my astonishment, the papers revealed not a risky investment scam, but plans for a series of affordable housing projects, intended to help hundreds of families in need. Mealy's partner in this was not just a businessman, but a philanthropist with a solid track record of successful, ethical ventures. The room spun slightly as I processed the information. Mealy, seeing my confusion, finally spoke up. I was going to surprise you, Derek. It was meant to be a birthday gift for you next month, a project in your name, something meaningful, beyond our petty fights and my foolish birthday stunt. The silence that followed was profound. I stood there, the remote heavy in my hand, realizing the colossal misunderstanding. My quest for revenge, based on half-truths and assumptions, had almost destroyed something genuinely good. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems I have been the fool, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Tonight was supposed to reveal a betrayal, but instead, it uncovered a gift, a reminder of the good that we can do together. The applause that followed was hesitant at first, then grew in warmth and forgiveness. I stepped down, approaching Mealy, who was still in shock. Mealy, I'm sorry, I said, the weight of my misjudgment heavy on my shoulders. Her eyes met mine, and in them, I saw not just forgiveness but a glimmer of hope. Let's start over, she suggested, her hand reaching for mine. Let's build something great, together. And as the storm outside broke, washing the city clean, inside the ballroom, amidst a crowd of stunned onlookers, we embraced, a couple reborn from the ruins of vengeance, ready to rebuild on foundations of understanding and newfound respect.